Hey there, guys. So today we have another review, and what we have here is Even More Jesus aged in bourbon barrels. If you don't know, Even More Jesus is one of my favorite imperial stouts, and basically this is Evil Twins' attempt at bourbon barrel aging it. There was a previous version called Double Barrel Jesus, which obviously 2 barrels. I imagine it was maybe rye and whiskey or rye and bourbon or something like that. An amazing beer. So this beer just came out. We're really excited to try it. It does not have a full name. It's just simply Even More Jesus bourbon barrel aged, or aged in bourbon barrels. This beer is actually produced and bottled in Denmark. So imagine maybe it was Jeppe's a gypsy brewer. So maybe he used his brother's brewery and McKellar. Not quite sure. But anyway, this is a 12% imperial stout. And actually, I believe this is higher. Yeah, oh, actually, no, this is 12% too. Apologies. So, really excited. So the beer comes in a nice kind of dark black color. You get this kind of brown film that sort of fills the size of the glass. Very little carbonation on this beer. Let's get a aroma on this. Yeah, that is Even More Jesus. I'm not getting much of the bourbon presence, actually. This smells more like the base beer. What I've immediately noticed is there's just kind of meatiness behind it, slight smokiness, but imagine like something like beef jerky, not as intense and fatty and unctuous as bacon, but a little bit of that kind of smoke quality you get from bacon. Yeah, and a little bit of this kind of umami soy sauce thing, a little bit of maybe like, again, seaweed has that kind of umami flavor, that kind of like almost salty, but it's like it's savory is really what the umami describes. Maybe a touch of dark fruit, as the label suggests. But it's mostly a lot of like fudgy chocolate, a little bit of kind of a roasted kind of espresso kind of notes. Cheers. I get a nice kind of pop of, what is that? Almost like a cranberry or cherry flavor. It's a bit bright up front, but that immediately moves on to a lot of flavors. Again, that rich kind of soy saucy umami meatiness is there. A little touch of smoke, a good amount of burnt sugar. They call it muscovado sugar, but it's like it's almost, again, like getting a flambé dessert where you're sort of burning all these sugars and sort of creating caramel and that kind of dark Maillard reaction. There's a little bit of a good amount of chocolate, I would say. Probably a 70-80% kind of bitter kind of chocolate. A little bit of espresso on the back end. I also notice is that bitterness I'm getting is a little bit of maybe, or that bright fruitiness is maybe a bright kind of licorice kind of flavor. I'd say a good amount of licorice. This is a big burly beer. There are a lot of aggressive flavors in this beer that I think some people might not like. Again, that medianness, that soy kind of quality, that kind of licorice note, but it's intense and I enjoy it. It's a really incredible beer. I will say it's a failure in the sense of being a bourbon barrel aged beer. I really wish it had a little bit more going on, a little bit more barrel character, either in the sense of like sort of this vanilla coconut kind of thing, or just like a hot kind of spike of bourbon sort of goes like, hey, this is a bourbon barrel aged beer. It does neither, and what it really does for me is more sort of towards, when I think about beers, I sort of think of it as a graph of like flavors on a palate. So you get an offering of this flavor, then it sort of falls down on the palate, then something else comes up, and it's sort of like a wave of what you're getting. And you're sort of looking for these flavors, and there's waves and consecutive things that you sort of think about in the tasting of a beer. And it sort of goes like this for me, depending on what beer it is. And yeah, there are peaks and valleys. And so what the bourbon barrel, in my mind, does for this beer is sort of smooths everything out. It's a little bit less, the gradients of between the highs and lows of the beer are a little bit more squished down. It's a more smooth beer than this beer. I wouldn't necessarily say it's better. I probably say I prefer this beer. And as a bourbon barrel aged beer, again, I might give a slightly lower rating, but I think I should still rate it based on how good this beer is. And I think this beer is slightly thinner and just not as intense in the chocolate nose, maybe. Yeah, it's just slightly. Somehow the bourbon barrels made this beer slightly more restrained, and almost maybe slightly thinner. And therefore, I'm going to give this beer a 96. 96. I think this beer is actually maybe a 97 because I think this beer is a 99, 98 range kind of beer, and I absolutely love it. So maybe let's give this beer a 97. Yeah, I'm happy with a 97 on this beer. Until next time, guys, cheers later. This is Even More Jesus Bourbon Barrel Aged. Let me know what you think about the base beer. What do you think about Double Barrel Jesus? If you can get this beer just came out. Try to find it. And until next time, guys, cheers later.